welcome to First and Short, everyone. It is November 20th, Thursday. This is First and Short, your first place to get short bits of news and college football analysis. I'm Aaron. I'm here with my co-host, Mashfik. Before we get started, I want you guys to please subscribe if you can. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So check us out. Keep us on your subscriptions. And hey, we pop up every Sunday and Thursday. On the agenda for today, we have some updates in the new coaching search. A lot to talk about there. We have college football playoff prediction reactions and some of our thoughts, right? Some of the what ifs that could happen and occur. And then lastly, we have the perfect weekend laid out for you. It feels like it's kind of a dead weekend, don't you think so, Mash?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be watching on the phone. Fortunately, all the games are back on YouTube TV, but I might be running some errands. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Not too exciting, but we found a way to make it interesting for you guys. So,
and things always happen. These are the weekends where something always happens. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Any given Saturday, you always have to come to play, right? We will definitely get into that later. But first, Mash, talk to me about this, these new coach search updates.
For sure, yeah. So I think a big one, the Hokies in Blacksburg, Virginia, got as much of a home run hire as you can probably get with the current availability pool. James Franklin, who was let go by Penn State, he was hired as the next head coach at Virginia Tech earlier this week, and his initial press conference was yesterday. Many people are wondering, hey, if his buyout for Penn State was so big, why is he working again so soon? I'd be on a beach somewhere, enjoying all this free money. So first of all, in order to be successful at a high level like he has, like all these other coaches have, you kind of have to be somewhat of a sicko, and got to be addicted to working your butt off in order to even get to the level that he's gotten to.
Right.
So this guy wants to work. He wants to coach and at the highest level and win, right? Secondly, his contract with Penn State, it had a mitigation clause. Neither of us are lawyers. I'm not going to pretend to completely understand the ins and outs of it. But with this mitigation clause, my understanding is it required him to seek quote unquote equivalent work, another head coaching job, and that money would offset the money owed to him by Penn State. So it's kind of like he had to go get a job. I like the hire. Aaron, what do you like about this hire by Virginia Tech to get James Franklin?
Yeah. Really good news for, Virginia Tech today. I think, bring him in, his CEO style of head coaching experience, where he fixes a culture and, the infrastructure from within first, right? It will do numbers to a program like Virginia Tech that is in a kind of a conference like the ACC, that doesn't have the perennial powerhouse anymore. Wink, wink, Clemson, right? And it's also in a state that doesn't produce the most talent, right? But it has a significant amount and is close to many that do. They're surrounded by plenty. One big thing that he'll be able to fix, is recruiting. Since 2015, James Franklin at Penn State, he signed 21 blue chip recruits. That means, they're 4-star or better. From the state of Virginia, in that same time span, Virginia Tech only signed 16. So, I mean, he beat, Virginia Tech at getting better players in their own state. It's pretty crazy. This guy knows how to pull in talent,
right.
I'm more so curious what the expectations will be for James Franklin. Mash, what do you think?
Yeah, we know that James Franklin had trouble on the big stage at Penn State, but that was at Penn State where now granted, he built that expectation back up to being able to get to that national title stage, right? That's not necessarily the case here at Virginia Tech. I would say don't let perfect be the enemy of good here. If James Franklin and Virginia Tech is able to go 10-2, but they lose to like Clemson or Miami or one of those types of teams that have kind of a head start in the ACC, let that be a renaissance season for in Blacksburg. Let that be a win. Don't let that get in the way of what he's trying to build there. You hire James Franklin to get you to the big stage, and then you worry about winning it, kind of later on. All in all, I'm pretty happy. I'm glad he's still coaching. He always brings fight. His teams have always been good. I'm sure he's got a rebuilding thing going on, but Virginia has talent. States around him have talent, like you said, Aaron.
Hmm.
Excited to see what he does there.
Yeah, it shall be interesting, and it'll be interesting to see, like you said, if they get to that state of being in the big moments. If he's not able to win in those big moments, how long are they going to be patient? You know. So, anyways, it'll be interesting to see. Wishing the best. Hoping he can, ease right back into
The
coaching.
swing of things.
Yeah. Another coach that we're going to talk about, we've been keeping our eyes on this story headline, Lane Kiffin, right? He's basically getting an ultimatum from Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. The old Lane train is supposedly, making some stops in Gainesville and Baton Rouge, so it's he's doing it at the same time apparently. So it's
Yeah.
it's crazy what's going on, what rumors are
I
being
saw
said,
some
right?
pictures of some guy that could be Lane Kiffin,
Hmm.
getting off a plane in Baton Rouge and walking around on the phone, and a lot of people on the message boards are thinking, that's him. What's he doing here, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yep. So, and all of this debacle and rumor going on, Old Miss, they've given him a deadline to sign an extension by the Egg Bowl. That's
Hmm.
Black. It used to be Thanksgiving, but I think it's Black Friday now. So
Yeah, yep.
he's gotten this, less
A little
than
over a
less,
week.
yeah, a little over a week now to make that happen. Um, this is pretty much a rare case, it's a rare case in which I understand all parties and their point of view. I really don't think anyone's wrong in this situation.
Yeah.
The problem here is it's a systematic issue, right? So in the old days, you could wait until January to really hire a coach, but with the portal, early signing days, you just you literally cannot.
Hmm.
Um, Florida and LSU, they're pressuring Kiffin's agent, Jimmy Sexton, for a pocket deal. Basically that's an informal agreement that says, "Hey, I'm yours. We'll be at your school as this season concludes."
Hmm.
I think Ole Miss, they pretty much know this, and so the ultimatum is an attempt to blow up the pocket deal, right? They're forcing him to publicly to commit to the Rebels to scare off other suitors before the transfer portal window swings wide open, right? Um, this is probably, some of the craziest in terms of college searching news that's, relevant right now, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Lane Kiffin knows that he's the one everyone wants.
Hmm.
And I'm sure he also knows that, yeah, Ole Miss gives him everything he wants, but the grass is greener somewhere else, right? Like, imagine he gets everything he wants out of Florida or everything he wants at LSU. Those situations are way better, probably, than what he's got going on at Ole Miss. And Ole Miss knows that there isn't anyone else on the market that's going to be able to get us to where he's consistently been getting us, right? But they understand that they probably weren't going to keep Lane Kiffin forever, and they have a due diligence to make sure that their team can succeed. And the first step in doing that, making in the short term, is making sure that whatever needs to happen next needs to happen by a certain time because of, like you said, the transfer portal and all that sort of playoffs, all that sort of stuff. So, um, yeah, crazy timing, but like you said, every party is looking out for themselves, and you can't blame them for that.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you say, the grass is green on the other side. Uh, I feel like one of the major things that could get him to go is the green, that money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to envision any other true indicator other than that, right? I mean, he's building quite the powerhouse at Ole Miss, right?
The only thing other than money that I would say is like buy-in from the program. And one thing that I have not been liking, and I'm a big fan of LSU football, but like the governor getting involved
Hmm.
and like telling people that you're fired, you're fired. No, we're not going to even interview. Like, if I'm Lane Kiffin, that's you if you know that that type of red tape is going to be up and you're just trying to do your job, that's not a good look in all honesty. So, yes, money is important, but am I going to a place that's actually going to allow me to succeed?
Hmm. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah,
Yeah,
speaking
let's move on. Yeah, let's move on though. We'll I guess we'll figure out by next week by the Egg Bowl what happens with Lane Kiffin there. I want to talk about the playoff predictions and thoughts, our thoughts on that. The on Tuesday the bracket came out
uh
and there was a little bit of a change up. I think the most interesting story was where they had Alabama. I think we can say that after a loss, this past weekend against Oklahoma. Surprising loss, in my opinion. But Alabama is in the best and worst position you can be as a CFB team. They're still good with with the community to be able to have placement in the playoffs, but they are a two-loss team that has to play their rival Auburn next week, and a possible conference championship against uh, either a Texas A&M, a Georgia again, a top 3-4 team. It's not ideal, but it is simple for them. Just keep winning your games and you're good. But yeah, we'll talk about a little bit about like placement, who got placed in front of them, but Alabama's in a decent place.
Yeah. Um, Another thing that popped out, to me and in my eyes, this past Tuesday, they got Miami sitting in that 11th seed spot, right? If I were a couple teams, I'd feel, slightly disrespected. I mean, you have Vanderbilt, who, has had a notably tough schedule, and they've battled through it. They have just as many losses, and they're not there. And then you also have Georgia Tech. I still think they're the current favorites to win the ACC, and they're not on here, right? I get this spot is pretty much a placeholder for whoever comes out the victor in the ACC, but in my opinion, I just believe another team should be on there.
Yeah, I agree, and in my opinion, I feel like the G5 team should be kicked out, but we do have Tulane here.
Hmm.
Tulane is guaranteed that number 12 spot as the G5 winner. Not necessarily Tulane, but the G5, team. But I think they, if that's what the rules are, we've applauded John Summerall before. But it all comes down to who is the highest ranked G5 team, and could be them. It could be James Madison. It seems like the committee has some uh, some issue with JMU, but right now it's Tulane. Um, just wanted to call that one out.
Yeah, yeah. And then if you move further back up to the top of the rankings, hey, Georgia's now in the top four seedings to where they get a bye.
Yeah,
Um, Georgia ends up in these crazy lucky good positions every time since the 12 playoff format has, really been introduced.
yeah,
Um, Last year, everybody thought, oh, they're surely going to have a first round uh play
playing.
playing. Yep. And then what happened? Alabama lost to OU, and they ended up having to play in the SEC championship to secure that, that first round bye. The same thing is almost happening this year, except they might secure, a first round bye without even playing in that conference championship due to the new format rules. Those format rules include no longer the Power Four conference champions getting the buys. It's
Yeah.
whoever is ranked in those top four spots, no matter how it plays out, right? Um, Good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, in my opinion, I don't think Georgia will finish four. Like I think the top two will be the Big Ten because the top two is Big Ten right now. I think it'll be
Mhm.
the Big Ten champ winner and loser, whoever that is. And then I think the SEC winner, if Georgia does make it to the SEC, I think they'll probably pop up one more to like three.
Mhm.
And then get that first round bye, and then I feel like the Big 12 winner would probably jump up in there. So they're not all the conference winners, but like a few of them. But I mean, obviously, as a Georgia fan, I don't want that many bye weeks. Like, you don't make the SEC game and you also get a bye week. That's a lot of bye weeks. So Um, that might just be wishful thinking, but I feel like Georgia would not finish in the fourth spot with their current situation.
Hmm.
Um, one more team I wanted to call out. Well, kind of two. Actually, not just one team, but a matchup. Number 9 Notre Dame. Right now they're paired up against number 8 Oklahoma. This is a tough place matchup to play. Because these are both two good teams, and then the winner has to go play number 1 Ohio State or whoever the winner of the Big Ten is most likely going to be. So that is definitely the hardest route up the playoffs.
Hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Another thing to consider, Notre Dame, them being ahead of Alabama right now, is a big point of contention for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Their losses were close, losses to other college football playoff teams. But Alabama, they have the best resume of the teams that they've beat. So I mean, it can really go either way.
Yeah, yeah. Notre Dame's two losses are what Miami and Texas A&M, and they're both in the CFP.
Hmm.
No one, yeah, like you said, Alabama's beaten. What they had that span of 4 or 5 like AP top ranked teams. So it really goes down to what do they what does the committee value more, like better losses or better wins, and maybe better losses in this situation. But cool, yeah. So that's the bracket so far.
Hmm.
Very interesting there. Let's talk about what we're going to be watching this weekend. There is going to be a Friday night game I want to have my eyes on, and that's Florida State at NC State. You know, this game should be interesting. Both these teams have had highs and lows that make this type of game totally unpredictable. FSU was looking like an ACC favorite, CFP contender, with that shocker beating Alabama in the season opener. We know what happened after that. NC State, they have wins against the top of the ACC, Virginia, Georgia Tech, but they've both just shown too much inconsistency, and it's why both of these teams are actually 5-5. I think it'll be a fun game to watch, but I think NC State ends up outscoring Florida State.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Um, should be interesting though. Okay, moving on to Saturday. So Saturday at noon, you got number 22 Missouri going to number 8 Oklahoma. Number 8 Oklahoma. Well, they're fresh off their win against Alabama. I mean, it's clear as day for Oklahoma now. Win 2 times and you're probably in.
Mhm.
Um, After seeing how dominant this defense could be, even without their starting defensive, lineman or Mason Thomas, I mean, they've really piqued my interest.
Yeah.
Um, with a John Mateer, finding his rhythm again post thumb surgery, they're starting to look straight up scary. So I mean, don't be surprised if this team, they make some noise in the college football playoffs, and if they continue to just get hotter, find their rhythm more and more. I don't think Missouri or their leading rusher, Ahmad Hardy, will pose much of a threat, and I think OU is going to get this win.
Yeah. Is R. Mason Thomas playing? Um, is he back? I'm not sure. I didn't check on that one.
Yep.
I think Oklahoma they were fortunate that Alabama couldn't run the ball um much. That R. Mason Thomas was like out, on the defensive line.
Hmm.
I'm leaning Missouri, but I don't know. Oklahoma has a lot of momentum right now. I think they'll be able to find a way to win.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see what else is at noon. Louisville at SMU. So, both of these teams are 7-3, but SMU needs to win out and for a few things to happen, and they could be competing for a conference championship. I think they were in the conference championship last year. I think this is a must-win situation for Kevin Jennings, and he's a good player. I think he'll be able to find a way against Louisville, and find a way to shine and keep this team's hope alive. Yeah, I think SMU will win this one.
Nice. Yep. Gonna have to agree with you there. Yeah. Moving on to 2 p.m. on Saturday, you have Mercer going to Auburn. Um, and stay with me, folks. This is going to be our underdog of the week.
Okay.
Um, we understand that this is an FCS team coming into Auburn this week, but Mercer's 9-1. And analysts have them being a 27.5 point
Hmm.
underdog. This team averages 41.7 points a game. They haven't lost since week 2. They would have another win in the win column, but their first game of the season got canceled because I
Oh
think of
yeah,
storm delays, right? Remember we
I
talked
remember
about that
that.
earlier.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I think they're coming into Jordan here with a lot of confidence, and they're trying to do more than collect a check. You know, I think they honestly want to shock the world with this one and just keep on rolling into the FCS playoffs. I don't know if they'll win, but I think a 28-point loss is a little steep for them here.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good underdog pick of the week. I think we're like 5-7 or something, but I think
Yeah.
this is I think this is a lot. 28 points, 27.5 points. I think Auburn's offense, geez. Yeah, they don't even have their quarterback. Yeah. This sounds like a lock for sure, for sure. But I agree with you. Auburn should win this game, but
Mhm.
that underdog pick seems pretty good. I'm gonna go put a little $5 on that one.
Yeah.
Um, all right, let's see. Saturday 3:30, Kentucky at number 14, Vanderbilt. Man, Vandy's been real under the radar on getting into the CFB playoffs. They were looking like a for sure contender, but some better teams have kind of risen to the top. But if they win this week and against number 20 Tennessee next week, their resume is pretty good. Why not? But first things first, you can't slip up against this explosive backfield um, with Seth McGowan and Dante Dowdle. Um, Kentucky also has a little win streak going. They beat Auburn and Florida in their last conference two matchups. This is most likely, Heisman candidate Diego Pavia's last time playing at home for the Commodores. I see him going on a tear and just leading this team to a win and, beating Kentucky pretty handily. I got Vanderbilt in this one.
Yep. Gonna agree with you there. It'll be interesting to see them play next week against Tennessee. Um, Saturday at 3:15, you got number 15 USC going to play number 7 Oregon. This game features, two high flying offenses. Normally this would mean a high scoring game. However, these teams both have pretty good defenses as well. Um, there is
Surprising to
one,
hear that. Surprising to hear that about USC.
yeah, yeah. Lincoln Riley is doing good things. There is one statistical matchup that really sticks out to me. It happens on third down. It's Matt
I
favorite
love a
statistic.
good third down statistic.
Yeah,
What do you got?
for all of Oregon's national hype. They are dominant in total offense. They're ranked third in the nation. They have one major hole USC will attack. USC's offenses, they're a third down machine. They convert 52% of the time. That's ranked eighth in this FBS.
Hmm.
Um, Oregon, however, they rank in the 20s and opponents' third down conversion rate. So it's good but not great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in all, I think this will be a lower scoring game than people will expect. I'm gonna have to possibly lean towards USC here.
Okay, so you're thinking USC will be able to exploit that third down kind of inefficiency that Oregon has. It sounds like this game will be like the teams will probably be on the field longer, like drives will be longer. So I
Hmm.
could see this being a low scoring game, but I think Oregon is the more complete team. I think they'll be able to win this one. So I'm gonna have to disagree with you on this one. I think Oregon will win. Cool. Let's see what else we got. Kansas State at number 12, Utah. So the matchup this week is it's shaping up to be a clash of contrasting play style storylines. Utah is fighting for a Big 12 title and college CFP hopes, while Kansas State they're just trying to make a bowl game. I expect a physical game here, dominated by Utah's rushing attack and their offensive line, and Kansas State's opportunistic defense. The Utah Utes, they're averaging close to 280 rush yards per game, which is actually second nationally. So they're really good there. And they're led by Wayshawn Parker and a freshman, actually, Bird Ficklin. He had 166 yards and 2 touchdowns versus Baylor last time they played. So although they have a freshman filling in for quarterback, I think he's done a really good job leading this team. Utah's looked good in every game except for the two the two teams in front of them in the Big 12, which that happens, the national order of things. I think at home they will come out with a win here, just being that dominantly physical team.
Yep. Definitely agree there. I'm gonna have to pick Utah as well. Moving on, Saturday at 4, you have number 18 Michigan going to Maryland. Michigan, believe it or not, they still have a chance to make it to the Big Ten championship game if they
Hmm.
win out, but they need a little bit of help from USC and Oregon. I think they
Okay.
need both teams to lose, right?
Yeah, I think USC has to lose one game and Oregon has to lose one game, something like that. But they play each other, so one of them has to lose that game, and
Yeah.
then whoever wins has to lose their next game. Something along those lines.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that need to happen, but first, Michigan needs to take care of Maryland. Both of these teams, they feature a dynamic freshman quarterback and good defenses. Um, Michigan is top 15 in both in scoring and rushing defense. And then Maryland, on the other hand, they lead the Big Ten with interceptions. They have 18 and a pick in 8 straight games, right? Um, Michigan with Justice Haynes out, they have turned the ball over 7 times in the last 2 games. Like, wow, that
Wow,
is mm,
that's terrible.
yeah, terrible. And then you have Malik Washington from Maryland. He's one of the only two true Big Ten freshmen since 1996 who has over 200. Sorry, not 200, 2,000 passing yards and
Oh, nice.
200 rushing yards. So he's moving the ball pretty well and pretty efficiently as a freshman in the Big Ten. Um, this offense, they score 81% of their red zone trips. So I mean, pretty good. Could be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Um, but their touchdown rate is terrible. So it sounds like a lot of those trips, end up being field goals. Um, they've only scored 11 touchdowns on 31 red zone trips. So
Oh, that's tough.
that's not a great statistic.
Yeah.
Um, they definitely score more field goals than touchdowns. Um, I personally don't think that'll be enough to beat Michigan. I'm picking Michigan here.
Yeah, a lot of things. That red zone stuff is concerning for sure.
Mhm,
But you mentioned, with Justice Haynes out, he is a key piece to the Michigan offense. I don't even know who's their running back now. But all those turnovers and
mhm,
not having, Justice Haynes, uh, I don't know. I think I'm leading Maryland here with the upset.
mm,
Yeah, Maryland has all those interceptions,
yep.
leading the Big Ten in interceptions, picking 8 straight games. Yeah, I'm seeing
Okay.
an upset brewing here. I'm going Maryland.
Okay.
We'll see. All right,
Yeah.
Saturday night. What do we got? Pittsburgh at number 16, Georgia Tech. So Pitt, they're coming off an embarrassing loss with College Game Day and everyone in the world watching, in attendance against Notre Dame. Georgia Tech is coming off a nail biter against a team that only has one win this season. So no idea where these teams, minds are at. But as the head coach for Pitt, mentioned Narduzzi, it doesn't matter if they lost to Notre Dame by 100. They still have their ACC schedule ahead of them to prioritize. So maybe this is top. Maybe this was top of mind for them. We'll see. Georgia Tech, they can punch a ticket to the ACC game, championship game here, and I'm sure Pittsburgh wants to ruin that for them. The
Mhm,
Yellow Jackets offense, what else do we have to say? It's Haynes King, right? It'll have to be him. It'll have to be the key to the victory here, as their defense has legitimately become a liability as of late. Pitt's head coach, he loves to send the blitz, but aggressive defenses, they get gashed by mobile quarterbacks all the time. Mobile quarterbacks who break containment. King, he's rushed for 14 touchdowns this year and is currently the third leading rusher in the entire ACC. So even though, Georgia Tech's defense is what it is, I don't see, Pitt's Mason Heinschel I don't see anything from him that would cause any concern for the Yellow Jackets playing their final home game at night. I got Georgia Tech in this one.
mm. Interesting. After this last showing Georgia Tech had on the road, I feel like I've just lost faith in them, and it's now crunch time. You're in November. You have Pittsburgh this week, and you have Georgia next week. I think they're going to slip up here, and I think Pittsburgh is going to sneak a win in Atlanta on
Dang.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. Moving on to our last game Saturday, late night game at 8. You got number 11 BYU going to Cincinnati. Um, BYU and their success, truly riding on the true freshman QB in November. Typically pretty terrifying, but he's the reason they're even in this position. Bear Bachmeyer, he has 10 rushing touchdowns. Um, that makes him basically tied for the record for the most by a BYU quarterback in a single season. So
Nice.
he's doing his thing. Um, Cincinnati's defense, they ranked 86th against the run in the nation. So expect to see, a healthy dose of Bear doing this during the game.
Hmm.
Um, we saw a lot of exposure of this BYU team against Texas, Texas Tech. But I don't think Cincinnati is built like that. So give me BYU for this one.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it'll be BYU as well. So cool. Interesting weekend. We'll see what happens. I don't think we'll see too many upsets. I don't know how I feel about that Maryland pick, but we'll see what happens this weekend. I think a lot of teams have their focus set on next weekend, right? But we will see. We will watch those games. We will bring you our breakdowns on Sunday. And once again, we appreciate you guys watching First and Short, and see you guys next time. Thanks. Nice.